Friday. Ben and Dan here from Dan Kramer Inc. And today we have a specialist with us, Kurt Braunmeyer. Is it Braunmeyer? Did I say that right?
Yeah, Braunmeyer, yeah.
Okay. Kurt Braunmeyer, and he is a specialist in long-term disability. And it's a part of the model that we look at when we go through the process with clients. So I wanted to bring him on and just talk about the importance of it. And to be honest, I never really took it very seriously. And Kurt, like, why would someone want a long-term disability policy? I mean, especially someone like me. I'm young, I'm healthy. I mean, I don't really see myself getting disabled anytime soon.
Right. So, well, first, Ben, Dan, thanks for allowing me to come on today. Excited just to be on because one, it's one of these topics. It's the least known topics that's discussed in the financial planning market, right? I mean, we always like to talk about that good stuff, the investments and the planning and the assets under management, but we always forget about that protection, right? We forget about that big bag of money that comes in every week that makes all the things possible in life. And so, like you said, I mean, and real quick, I mean, disability insurance planning is very much like a Rubik's Cube. Okay, so the first time you see it, you almost can't imagine making those colors line up again, right? But however, once you do it, your goal is to solve that puzzle faster using a more efficient method and fewer moves, right? That's my goal as a DI specialist. And so, and when you ask that question, why would somebody want long-term disability when they're young and healthy? I mean, to me, disability insurance is not a want; it's a need, right? I mean, you have to have that awareness and realize that, hey, our income's important, right? We all depend on our income, and so, I mean, if you depend on your income, you need to have it protected. I mean, to me, protecting your income is one of the most responsible decisions you'll ever make. And the time to buy it is when you're young and healthy. Because a lot of times, and you've heard this story before, right? I mean, you never know, right? You think about this: your next visit to the doctor, no matter what the reason, can be the last time you're insurable for the rest of your life, right? And as a specialist, I don't want that to happen to you, right? And so after all, you're purchasing this type of coverage for the unknown, right? I mean, we have medical insurance, right? Yeah. We pay for medical insurance every month, but what is that medical insurance? If you think about the whole picture, the medical insurance is covering the doctors, the physicians, the pharmacists, but the most important person in that picture is the patient laying on that hospital bed, right? And so,
right.
So the best time to buy income is obviously before you need it, right? Disability insurance is like a spare tire, right? You don't use it all the time, but when you need it, it'll be there to cover you.
Yeah, it's pretty convenient when you need it. That's for sure.
So, but again, and I can go on and on and on again. So if I keep talking, please stop me because it's something I am really passionate about. But you see, when you're young and healthy, it's easy, right? It's easy to get hung up on those unlikely events that could happen, right? That could have a major impact on your life, right? We're all invisible. We're all Superman, right? We all wear that cape, and we can go do whatever we want to, right? We're never going to get hurt. But we all have some sort of fear of some random event, right? For example, think about going to the beach, right? Whether it's you or your kids in the beach. I mean, hey, what if a shark attacks, right? What if there's a shark attack? Or what if there's, I mean, a thunderstorm, you run out to your car, man, what happens if I get struck by lightning, right? But those type of events are very rare, but yet a lot of people are conscious about them and think about it, right?
Yeah.
And so, so it's important to consider these, but it's more important to consider the events that's more likely going to happen, right? So the probability that a 35-year-old man will, before he retires, have a disability that prevents him from working 90 days or longer is about 1 in 5. So, I mean, 35 years old, you have a 1 in 5 chance of becoming disabled, and women are more likely to become disabled, right? So for a 35-year-old woman, that probability is nearly 1 in 3.
Wow.
And so that's, I mean, really, when it comes to insurance, we often like to prioritize our health, home, and auto, right? And forget about that big bag of money that I talked about at the beginning. And so it's really, I mean, it's all about, to me, I know that was a long-winded question to your answer to your question, but it's really more about getting clients thinking about the importance of their income. And right. And my job as a DI specialist is to be that resource for the financial advisors like Ben and Dan, so they can have that conversations, so that you guys can focus on kind of creating that plan. Okay. And then I'm coming in and making sure that, hey, in the event something happens, that plan is going to maintain its value throughout retirement, right? So they don't have to worry about draining retirement. They don't have to worry about doing any of that. So really, I mean, when you're young and healthy, that's the time you need any disability insurance, right? I mean, insurance is there to mitigate the risk and take that risk off of something. So the best time to buy disability insurance is when you're young and healthy.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's kind of like life insurance. I mean, the longer you wait, the higher the probability something's going to happen that's going to make you uninsurable. And yeah, I can see that.
And real quick, I do want to point out as well, disability insurance, a lot of people may not realize this, but it's non-cancelable, right? So it's one of the only, it's the only non-cancelable guarantee renewable product in the market. So meaning once you lock in your premium, that premium is never going to change, right? I mean, it's not like your home or auto policy where it has to renew every year. Once you lock in that premium, if you don't make any changes to that premium, as long as you continue to pay that monthly benefit, that policy can't go away, right? So it's going to follow you wherever you go.
Okay. And that kind of brings me to another question, because a lot of people have coverage, like group coverage through work.
Mm-hmm.
We go through a lot of clients, their benefits package at work, and you see goes through all the long list of all their health insurance benefits and this, that, and the other. And a lot of people have that covered through work. So, if someone has that through work, shouldn't that be enough? Or, why would a private policy be good to own,
right,
if I have that coverage through work?
Well, that's the question. Is it enough? Right. So you already have coverage at work, right? That's an excellent start to helping you protect yourself from the unexpected. But again, is it enough? Can you live on approximately 40% of your income if you're disabled? Because if you think about it, I mean, that's what's going to happen if you become disabled on a group policy, right? And so let's look at how a group policy works real quick, right? So under normal circumstances, you earn a full income, and you can expect about 25% of that to go to taxes, right? Yeah. So now during a disability, a typical group long-term disability plan it provides income replacement up to about 60%. And if it's paid by the employer, those benefits are taxable. Okay. So at the moment, you're used to living on about 75% of your income. Okay. So, but if you become disabled, you'll be getting by on basically about half of that amount under your group plan. And so that difference in what I didn't come up with it, but that difference is known as the income gap, right? So although the group LTD can provide a decent benefit, there's still a large amount of income that you would have to do without. So that's where individual insurance or individual disability insurance comes in. So it can help minimize that gap by providing additional benefit on top of that group long-term disability coverage. And a lot of times too, and one thing I'll point out about group coverage opposed to individual coverage is the definition of disability. And so a lot of group plans, they'll have that definition, and then it's only going to protect you from your occupation for the first 2 years. Okay. So it's going to protect you for the first 2 years of your occupation. And then after that 2 years is up, it transfers into any occupation. So whether or not, whatever you're doing at that time, that employer has complete control after that 2 years, whether or not you can answer a phone, you can greet somebody, or whatever. They're going to find something for you to do with inside that company for them to stop paying that benefit.
Okay. So what you're saying is basically that benefit will pay for 2 years. And then after that point, it doesn't matter if you're still disabled and can't go back to work doing the thing you were doing, as long as you can, like you said, answer the phone,
right,
sweep the floor, do something
right,
basic. They're going to probably cut that off.
Exactly. Right. So it turns into, like, the definition of disability is really, if you can't perform the material and substantial duties of your job, you're disabled. Right. And so from that point, so it covers that for 2 years, but then after that 2 years, it goes from a your occupation to any occupation.
Okay. Which means if I can do anything.
Right. If you can do anything, you're not disabled. So and it gives you that. I mean, obviously the employer's paying for it, so they have full control over it. Whereas an individual policy, you're in complete control over it, right? So you worry about the benefit as long as you're paying the premium, the policy is there and it's in force, and you don't have to worry about, and it's portable. So I mean, I had an interesting fact, and I read an interesting story the other day that it said millennials they're going to change between, I think it was between 7 and 10 jobs within their career.
Jeez.
And so it's crazy to think about, right? I mean, I'm in my second career, but I'm not going to go anywhere else after this. But it's one of those things. I mean, 7 to 9 jobs. I mean, so the matter of fact is that with this individual disability is, one, we're locking in your insurability. We're giving you the guarantees that, hey, in the event that something happens in your life and you can't work, we're going to make sure that, hey, you have some kind of income stream coming in that can kind of handle, make sure you don't lose your house, make sure you can continue to maintain that standard of living that you were living once before.
Okay. And like you said, it's portable. So it doesn't matter if have coverage at work and go to another job, that's policy is going to follow me everywhere.
Exactly. Unlike your group plans, you leave the employer, your group plan goes away. I mean, some of those plans you can convert, but a lot of times it's better off just to kind of get with the individual plans, because of that contractual language is going to be a lot stronger.
Okay. No, that's kind of very similar to like group term insurance, life insurance. Once you're there, you have the coverage. A lot of times the employer pays pays the premiums, but yeah, once you quit, you retire, whatever, then that's gone forever.
You're on your own.
Yeah.
Hey, good luck.
Yeah. No, exactly. Well, yeah, those were kind of the two big questions I had. Just curious about that, because that's something that most people, I mean myself included, I was like, yeah, I don't really see the need for this. And just in the last couple of weeks, I actually got a policy placed through Kurt here. So Thank you for that, Kurt. So now I have mine, and Kurt has been really great about just educating me on, hey, this is what your policy does. This is how it works. And I can relax knowing that if I go get sick, if I get injured, whatever the case is, and I can't do what I do, I've got income that's going to be coming in.
Exactly. And that's the main point, right? I mean, and I tell people all the time, what plan do you have in place if you can't wake up tomorrow and do what you enjoy doing, right? I mean, if the last 2 years has taught us anything, it's that our health is fragile, right? And you really can get sick and miss work. You see, a lot of times, Ben, people think of a disability as somebody being in a wheelchair. But all disabilities are different, right? Bad things happen to good people. And 90% of disabilities are actually illness related, and only 10% are accident related.
Wow.
And so that just goes, I mean, a lot of people think, I mean, you got to think about, Damar Hamlin. I mean, we had that good news today, and I was going to bring that up. I mean, this is a perfect time to get on and talk about protecting the things that you love and enjoy doing, right? I mean, you're talking about a 24-year-old individual, young man, out there doing what he loves doing, and suffered a cardiac arrest. That just blows my mind. I mean, I was in the sports medicine, physical therapy, athletic training world in my previous career, which kind of led me into what I'm doing now. But just seeing that, it just sent shock through me. I mean, I got multiple calls saying, "Hey, Kurt, that could have, what you talk about every week could have been covered, right?" And they're like, "Yeah." And so, it's just letting people understand and having them realize that, hey, our income funds everything that we do in life, right? And if something stops us from doing that, what's going to happen?
Right. No, without that income, all of the fun stuff, all of the investing, and especially people who are maybe really reliant on their skills as an investor, even, that's really big. If they're not able to get up and go and hustle and do those things, like that's going to really put a hurting on some things. And in that situation, maybe you're liquidating investments at the wrong time, and now you're just creating loss after loss after loss. So
draining retirement. You're just kind of getting through. You're draining everything to try to get by until you can kind of get back to work.
Yeah. No. Well, that's great. I think, we covered most of the, the questions that I get and some of the things. Dan, did you have any questions or points you wanted to bring up to Kurt?
No, I'm mostly just listening today. This is good. And just to reiterate, if you're listening this far, step one in building the perfect model is maximum replacement of income and assets at all costs, whereas the typical financial world, they look at your assets first and they go, hey, how do we save and build up, retirement first? And they almost look at protecting everything as kind of, we'll do that later when we have more money, because we have this idea that, we're invincible. So we're a little bit different, and this plays into it big time. We if you guys had a $300,000 house and it burned to the ground, right, you'd want to check for at least $300,000 to rebuild it. Well, same thing, we teach people maximum replacement. So Kurt, I'm glad you kind of went through the math, but like if you're making $100,000 a year, and you get disabled and can't work, you probably don't want to settle on $40,000 to pay your bills, right?
Yeah.
And
no,
you're not going to be able to, right?
No, you may be able to. I don't know what you have in savings, but it's going to be hard, right?
And that goes back to us. It's like same thing with just the typical world. It's all based on hope. I hope everything works out.
Yep.
And if not, there's always GoFundMe. Well, sorry, but your grandparents really don't want to fund your lifestyle. So it's not only doable, but it's responsible, right? So most people want to be responsible. This is a key component to it, but maybe talk a little bit about the cost, right? Because I personally don't like paying for insurance that I don't have a game plan to recover that cost. Do you guys have it? Like what's the game plan in your world with disability insurance to maybe recover the cost? Or is it just, it's not that expensive, especially if you're healthy? Or talk a little bit about that, because that's kind of maybe one of the main objections is, if it was free, I'm sure everybody you talk to would want it, right?
Oh, absolutely, right? Everybody. If you're handing out things, everybody's going to want to take it, right? But until you show them a price tag, and then they start thinking, right? I tell people, and it's funny, real quick before we get in there, I tell people all the time, I get outsold by a car salesman every single day, right? So think about it. You have a light on in your vehicle, right? You have a light on in your vehicle or something, and you take it or you're having brake issues. Okay. You take it to the brake shop, they come out. Oh, yeah, you got bad brakes and rotors. It's going to be $600. What do you say? Okay. All right. It's got to be done, right? I got to drive it. So go ahead and go ahead and put it on. But whenever they bring you the keys back out in the car, you don't say, hey, take that car out there in the driveway and I want you to get it up to 60 miles an hour and test the brakes. Right? They don't do that. You get in your car and you take off and you go. Right. So, it's all about creating that awareness. I tell people, once you can evaluate and establish that need and get your clients thinking about the importance of their income, the premium's not going to matter to them. Right. Because, you're paying so little for something. Yeah, it looks expensive now. But if you have to use this coverage, it's going to be the least expensive coverage you'll ever use, right? And so disability, long-term disability insurance, it typically ranges into 1% to 3% of your annual income as the cost of the premium, right? And so it's not much, right? We go out and spend $6 on a Starbucks coffee, right? Or we have all these different subscriptions, right? There's ways that we can go about and find ways and find money that you're throwing away each month for some subscription that you hardly ever use in order to put it into a plan that's going to make sure that, hey, in the event something happens to me, nothing's going to happen to my financial plan that Dan and Ben has created for me, and I can maintain my standard of living, which also gives you security, comfort, and peace of mind. And so, usually, of course, all policies are different, Dan. They all range. I tell people it's just like buying a car, right? You go to the showroom. You want to look at the most fanciest car they have there, right? But then you look at your budget and then you're like, well, I can't afford the power windows. Well, I can't afford this or I can't afford that. Right. But you know what? You can't afford the car that's going to get you to point A to point B. That's my job, right? So that I can find a plan. I can customize that plan and approach to whether if you need $20,000 a month or whether you need $1,000 a month, right? It's all different, and we can focus that and base that on each individual client's needs.
How hard is it to get coverage? What does a client need?
Yeah, I mean, it's not hard at all. I mean, obviously, good health is a good point because it is fully underwritten up front. And the reason that being is because individual coverage, right? I mean, after 90 days of you not having a paycheck, on that 91st day, I want to make sure that paycheck starts rolling in, right? Mm-hmm. And so the coverage, I mean, from submission of the app to delivery, it usually takes about 4 to 6 months. I mean, sometimes it's less, and sometimes it could take a little bit longer. It all depends on if the doctor's offices are going to work with us and get those APS, those physician statements to the carriers when they need them, if they request them. I mean, that's usually what holds us up is if the carrier has to request a statement from the doctor's office. So, but usually, yeah, the turnaround time about 4 to 6 weeks.
Oh, 4 to 6 weeks. Yeah, you said 4
to 6 months. I think I said months at the beginning, and so I apologize. 4 to 6 weeks.
I said, man, that's
I was like, that's pretty intensive. Okay, about
4 to 6 weeks. Yeah, 4 to 6 weeks. I think Ben's was start to close in little under like 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And, well, no, that's all I had.
Talk about so there's that term, the elimination period or waiting period. Just talk about what that means, because based on what someone has in their savings, that elimination period can affect how much the premium is. Is that correct?
For sure. Yeah. Obviously, the longer the elimination period, the less the premium, right? Because you're waiting longer to get your money, right? The shorter the elimination period, a little bit more expensive the premium is, just because you're getting that paycheck a lot faster. And so a typical long-term disability plan usually goes from a 90-day wait to age 65, right? We can go as low as 30-day wait, and we can go as high to age 70, or we can do a 90-day 2-year benefit period. Again, it's all customizable. I mean, it's different plans, and it also depends on. I mean, the individual may have a short-term coverage through their employer as well, and so whether or not that pays out for 9 months or 6 months, or it pays out for 3 months, that can kind of help determine that factor as well.
Okay.
But yeah, so you have whenever you hear the elimination period, that's the waiting period, right? Okay. So that's the days you have to wait before your paycheck's going to come in. And then the benefit period is going to be how long that payment is going to run for. Because a lot of times our clients just want to know, hey, how much money am I going to get? How soon am I going to get it? And how long is it going to pay for? Right. Gotcha. So we can tell them the basics, and that's really what they want to know.
Okay. No, that's good. So it's almost like a time deductible. So
right. And every situation is different, right? So, I mean, if you're young and healthy, you want to take it to retirement age, or let's drop it down to a 5-year, 2-year, or a 10-year benefit period. Because at the end of the day, that's going to allow you and give you enough time to, of course, think about what you want to do in your next career or next steps, right? If you become disabled for one, you receive a 5 to 10-year payout on it, right? You come back and then you decide, hey, maybe I can go and do something else, and that gives you enough time to kind of think about and redirect what path you want to take.
Yeah, gotcha. No, well, that's great, Kurt. That's a lot of good information. Hopefully, everyone that watched this got some good value out of that. And if you're curious about, or have questions about this, let us know. If Dan and I don't have answers to a question, this is why we know and have relationships with guys like Kurt, because Kurt is passionate about it and he knows the product inside and out. So he can get into all the fine details and really, really get down to business. So, Kurt, I appreciate you coming on today, and we'll have you on again sometime, and we'll be talking again soon.
Man, Ben, Dan, thank you. Again, I've enjoyed this. I'll come on whenever you guys want to, right? I enjoy talking about this this protection product, and it's one thing that, it needs to be talked about more. And so the one last thing I'm going to leave you guys with is there's only one person that can protect you from a disability, and that's the healthy person you are today. So again, bad things happen to good people. So talk to Ben, talk to Dan. Let us know how we can help you and make sure that, hey, your next paycheck's not your last paycheck.